Hello, I am the Beanie 101 and we're going to be watching a little more of NHL 13 and an online shootout while I continue to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs and the conference finals. If you haven't seen my first video, then there's a link to see and listen to me discuss Pittsburgh. But actually today we're going to talk about Boston and the Bruins and what they have to do to overcome the fairly formidable task of beating Pittsburgh. So the first point is to talk about Bergeron versus Crosby. One of the best two-way forwards in the game in Patrice Bergeron, one of the best forwards in hockey full stop in Sidney Crosby. That's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup. Crosby's line with Kunitz and Dupuis have been on fire for pretty much the whole season, so the Bruins not only have to shut down that top line, but they also have Malkin and Neal to contend with. And that, I suppose, moves me on to the next point, and that's looking at the way that Malkin and Neal play. And yeah, they feed off each other, but they're also very, very prone to silly penalties. So if players like Brad Marchand and a few of the other grinders of the Boston Bruins can get under their skin, then there's no reason why they can't really affect the flow of Pittsburgh's game. And Boston's power play is just as strong as Pittsburgh's. So I think one of the keys is going to be in the penalty box. But the Bruins also have to be able to use their size. Grind down on this Pittsburgh team, really wear their D-men out. They did add Douglas Murray at the trade deadline, the Penguins did, but some of their other D-men, Paul Martin, Letang, Niskanen, they're not the biggest of players, so Boston can really establish a strong forecheck and make sure that they're capitalising on any mistakes that causes on the back end for Pittsburgh. Boston also need to see much more out of Tyler Seguin. He's been held very quiet so far in the playoffs, and for someone that you look to, a young player who has a hugely promising future ahead of him, he really needs to be contributing more in the playoffs. You've got to look in the last couple of years to what playoff hockey is all about, but he's not really been able to put it together. So if they can get some secondary scoring, then they're going to be posing much more of a threat on the Pittsburgh end, rather than having to consistently rely on their team D and Tuukka Rask to bail them out of trouble. Because what they don't want to do is get into any form of shootout hockey with the Penguins, because they've been potting goals for fun over the course of the season, and certainly that hasn't let up during the playoffs. Pittsburgh are lethal, so Boston need to concentrate on playing their own game, but be wary that they do need some secondary scoring, which wasn't really highlighted against the New York Rangers, because hey, the Rangers couldn't score at all. So those are my keys for Boston. Please leave a comment if you agree or disagree. Also, you can subscribe to my channel, or click the video above to move on to me discussing the Chicago Blackhawks and the LA Kings. Otherwise, enjoy the playoffs.